All right, so I'm standing in front of a replica of the Titanic, and we're about to go check out the Titanic Exhibit. This was one huge ship. Check this out. All right, we're about to head into the Titanic Exhibit. This should be a night to remember, even though it's daytime, but you should get the reference. So we're looking at the actual sub that went down and dove down and like picked up all the artifacts and so forth. But interesting to note, when you get here, they give you a boarding pass for the Titanic that has an actual passenger's name on it. So you actually get to see a little bit of history here of a person who actually was on the Titanic, and they don't tell you whether or not that person survived. That's up to you to find out at the end, and that's what we're going to do. It literally says Kilroy was here. So it's interesting to note you can actually hear the sounds of like engine and pipes. They've somehow managed to pipe that in here, and it does actually have sort of a vibratory sound. So kudos to the sound people who added that in. You can actually feel the actual rumbling, and hopefully you can actually hear a little bit of it in this video. That's a pretty cool touch. So I'm standing here on a recreation of Titanic's grand staircase. We've seen this, if you ever saw the movie, they actually have this staircase, but it's pretty amazing that this was actually on a ship, on a boat. Pretty amazing. Check out the dome above us. So these are the first class accommodations behind me, almost as nice as our hotel at Excalibur. But I think this smells more of rich mahogany. And it has many leather-bound books, as I can see over here. So we're standing out here on a recreation of the promenade deck of the Titanic, and this is a very immersive experience. Like, I'm looking out at stars, like as if I'm looking out over the ship itself, and it's been recreated very faithfully to look just like you're standing on the deck of the Titanic. So this is pretty impressive. So I just put my hand on the iceberg, as it tells you to actually touch it. So this is a very like unique, immersive experience. But this is a giant chunk of ice. This is not some prop. This is not made out of plastic. When I put my hand on it, I can actually feel water, and it's actually melting on my hand. So this is like a real iceberg in the sense that it is a real solid chunk of ice sitting here, right here, in the middle of the museum. When we're just on the deck, you could hear the ocean, you could hear a breeze going by. They've made this really super immersive, which is excellent. I mean, this is a more than just a museum. They're really trying to get you into what it was like to be on the Titanic with all of the artifacts and the history of it all. in front of a wreck of the Titanic as it would look underwater. This is what you would see if you were able to get in a submarine and go down and see what's left of the Titanic. So this is pretty impressive and pretty moving. Earlier we saw what the Titanic looked like in its full glory when it was just out, and this is what it looks like now, sunken at the bottom of the ocean. So right behind me is what's called the big piece. This is an actual piece of the Titanic that was raised 15 tons. But it's sitting here right here in this museum, so this is pretty impressive. We're actually looking at a piece of the ship right here. Though a little hard to see, we actually have vials of perfume right here to my left that you can smell. There's actually holes in the glass that you can put your nose to. I can't really smell much, but I think it's kind of cool that they added that extra sense in there because, you know, we've been able to touch an iceberg. We've been able to see pieces of the Titanic. We've been able to hear the audio logs that are going on here in and around, and with video. There's even an audio recording that you can follow like a tour. But this is the only thing that's scented. So interesting to note that they have 4 of your senses, 4 senses there, and smell is actually reproduced right here. So as we mentioned, they actually give you a boarding pass when you come here. So you get a boarding pass for the Titanic, and you get one. It actually has a name on it of someone who was from the Titanic itself. So it's an actual passenger, so you learn a little bit of history, and on the wall behind me, you can find out whether or not that person survived or if they perished with the Titanic. And mine was a Mr. Nils Martin O'Dall, or, as it says on this card, Martin O, or Mr. Martino. Rather strange coincidence, wouldn't you say? So we've just completed our view of the Titanic Museum here at the Luxor in Las Vegas, and boy, that was pretty impressive. Very immersive and interactive. All 5 of your senses actually have some sort of interaction with the exhibit. That is touch, that is smell, that is, all the visuals and the audios. I mean, you obviously don't get to taste anything, but hey, we're in Vegas and there's plenty of restaurants around. So, but it was really a very immersive experience. You get to see recreations of the Titanic as well as models, and even some very impressive artifacts that were raised from the seafloor bottom. So I'm giving this a pretty good thumbs up. This is something to check out, especially if you love history and you love the story behind the Titanic and the tragedy of it all. The nice thing about it is that it goes on to tell you the sort of the life of the type of people that would go on it, as well as what it would be like to live in each of the different classes, like first class, second class, and even the third class quarters. And then finally, the sort of the tragedy of what happened and what occurred, and even what the Titanic is doing tonight. So all of that right here in this museum, it's pretty impressive. So, all right, check it out. That's the end of our first review for Las Vegas. Stay tuned for a lot more, so hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you very soon. More of our Vegas adventure reviews.